So Lamira, I'm going to let you take it away on our tech and tips and tools for being able to do your presentation using slides and tech. Take it away.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you all. I love this. And I love that I'm able to come help you. So thanks for having me on. Okay, so I'm going to talk exactly what Connie said, some things to help you, some tips and tricks as you are setting up this. If you're going to do slides or you're going to do Zoom, whatever you're going to do, however you're going to present. So I typically, in our course and community, I talked about the ABCs of filming, and I'm going to skip some of those because I know Connie talks about those in some of how the appearance, your background, all of that kind of stuff. But I'm going to kind of jump to your display. So first of all, if you want to use slides, we'll jump right to slides. If you're going to use slides, there are a few different ways that you can create them. And most of you, I believe, are very familiar or pretty familiar with Canva. And in Canva, you can create some beautiful templated slides. Okay, the great thing about that is if you use Canva, you can also download them. If you have PowerPoint, you can download them as a PowerPoint file and import them into PowerPoint. Okay, so you've got to decide how you're going to present. You can present from Canva, you can present from Google Slides, and you can present from PowerPoint. And you can also, there are other programs out there that you can use. My number one tip with that is practice, practice, practice. Just like Cheryl Knowlton had said, get up and practice saying your spiel. You need to practice with your slides. And what I mean with that is sharing your screen, knowing what the presenter slide looks like, that kind of thing. And also just to be able to click through, know what, if you have to shorten time or expand time, you know where you can do that. But an easy way to do that is if you are in Canva and you create all your slides in Canva, when you go up to the top and download it, it will say, if you have PowerPoint installed, it will say download as a PowerPoint file, and then you can import them through PowerPoint. And I can show you how to do that if you want. And do you want me to show you that now? Okay, so I might have to, let me pull up Canva real quick and I will show you. Super simple. I did this is what we did for the retreat. It was able to, let me go back to my Zoom meeting and show you. Oh, Connie, will you enable screen sharing? And this is something I'll show you in Zoom, how to set up a Zoom meeting and enable that. So, okay. Okay, so if I'm in Canva, okay, I'm going to come here and let's say, so this is my Canva and I'm gonna look up my retreat slides, okay? And let's do something like this. So here are a set of slides that I've used before. And let's say that this is my slideshow. So if I'm in Canva and I'm in my presentation, instead of going to present, I'm going to hit this little down arrow and it will have download. And if I click the file type, it will have, actually, come out, go to share. And it should be able to, sorry, moving all of our faces out of the way. There is 3 dots. Like there's 3 things. This is, you see how I roll. Okay, so right here, you're going to share in Microsoft PowerPoint. You can even share it as an email if you want to email it to somebody. But typically, if I'm going to do it as PowerPoint, and a lot of people, that's might be the way that they use it, I'm going to click PowerPoint and it will say, okay, what pages do I want? If I want all those slides or if I just want one slide, okay, I'm going to hit that and I'm going to hit done. And I just want all of them. And I'll hit download. And so you'll see down there, it's downloading to my computer. And then I'm going to open with PowerPoint and I can hit that. And look, there it is in a beautiful PowerPoint. Now, one thing you have to know is some things don't translate, like you can see down here, right? You just have to make sure that everything translates in, and it mostly does.
Is anyone else seeing it? Is anyone else seeing the PowerPoint? I'm not seeing how it translated into the PowerPoint.
Oh, you know what? Let me switch screens because it probably went from Canva to there. Thank you, because I could only see my own screen. Okay, you see that now? So when a little pop-up window and I said open up in PowerPoint. So there it is. The other way you can do it is if you open up PowerPoint and you hit insert, and then you go ahead and you want slides, and actually, yeah. Usually it will say, oh, up at the top, insert. So I was doing the wrong one. So if you do in the top file, I don't know if you can see it on the top screen. Can you see that, the little menu drop down? Tell me yes or no. I can't see you. But if you scroll down, and so slides from, you can do other presentation, and then it will pull up your files, and I could pull them in from there. And then I can use which ones I want and which one I don't. That way you don't have to recreate a slideshow every time and recreate your slides. You can import them. So I could pull in the full September retreat and then only use the ones that I want. So that's quickly how you do that on that side. Okay. So any questions on that part with Canva and PowerPoint? A lot of times you can do it from Google Slides as well. I would just say, make sure that before you get up that you practice sharing what it looks like a couple times. Open up Zoom, practice sharing your screen, maybe get somebody on. I'm totally happy to do a 20-minute session with you, and you can practice sharing your screen and seeing what that looks like. So like, okay, I've got to do this presentation. Can I do this with you and just make sure I've got the tech right? That is a great way to do that. Okay. So that's one way to do it, especially if you want templates and you're like, I cannot recreate this from scratch. Go to Canva and find a template and input your branding colors. It is so easy to do that. So,
do you have a tutorial on that one? Because I haven't done that before. Like, I'm not super familiar with Canva. I'm trying to be more familiar, but I'm just curious if you have a tutorial on that.
No, but I could. Do you want me to show you for a quick minute if that's what you want? I'm happy to do that. Okay, so we'll go back into Canva. Okay, so you can see this. So let's say I'm just going to create, I'm actually just going to go home and I'm going to create a design. And up here, I'm just going to search presentation. Okay. And so it's going to pull up a blank screen, and then I can pick any templates, simple presentation. And so let's say find one that you like. So let's say so I pick that, and it's like, I can apply all 15 pages, and I hit that, and look, it pumps it all in. And now I've got 15 slides right there, and it's got it beautifully done, but it's not my brand, right? So it might not be my colors. So then I'm going to come over here. I'm sorry, it keeps like swiping. That was annoying. Let's try that again. Doesn't matter which one. Okay. So if I scroll down, I want to change my colors on it. And so I'm going to, let's say I select the words. I had to move us again. Okay, and if I click the color up here, look, colors for my brand kit. If you set up your brand kit, it should show up right there. And let's say I want all my words to be that dark gray. Down here, it will say change all brown to dark gray. Done. Okay, it's done. Now on this one, I might have to do the same thing where I'm like, okay, I want to change that to my light gray. Okay, and I say change all on that. It's going to be on that slide, but do you see how I can brand it that way? And then I can go and do the same thing with the words again. So it's going to take a little bit on each slide, but if I already have my colors changed, then I can do that. And if I want to throw out my pictures, if I don't want a slide, I can delete that slide. If I say I don't want it, I just hit the delete button and it goes away. Okay. And so you just change in that. That's how you would do that. Any questions on that, Wendy? Did that answer your question? Okay.
I did, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, and if you have your logo and you want to add your logo in there, that's where I just go down here on the bottom left, and I'm going to stick in my logo in there on that bottom screen. Okay, so that's simply how you would do that in Canva. Okay, and artists, it's probably the same if you have it on your phone. So yeah, if you just go, when you go to create a post on your phone, you can hit create slides. I like to do it on my computer though, because it's easier to, it's the same. I think what you're asking me is the same program. It's the same program, same app. I just log into it from my computer to do my slides so that I can see a bigger picture of it. But you could do it from your phone. It just would little bit, the menus might shift a little bit where they're at, like a little more condensed. So let me know if there's any other crazy. And I like this. I like Wendy points out one reason to save as the PowerPoint, so you can print off 3 slides at a time to prompt you as you go. Yeah. And PowerPoint is awesome because the presenter view, and a lot of them do have a presenter view. A lot of that is if you have two screens, like when you were at the retreat, we have the screen up on the computer versus the screen that I'm looking at, right? And then I can see ahead. And with that, so that's important for you too, so you're not sitting there staring up. Now, if you're doing it straight from Zoom, you might want to have some notes nearby, but you'll still have that. You might be able to have screens. Now, Connie, you've done this more often than I have when you shared your PowerPoint doing on a Zoom. Can you still see your presenter mode when you do that, or do you typically just see what they're saying?
I just keep my own notes, but there is a setting you can do with Zoom that you can do the slide and then it says notes below. And so you can have your notes on there if you want to. I usually just like my sticky note right here. And then I know as I'm going down. And that is a little tip too, is that instead, a lot of people put it over here to the side. And I encourage you to just hit your bullet points. That's what I do for my Studio 5. I put them on a sticky note and I just stick it right here, because then it just looks like I'm looking down at the camera or looking at the screen. And it doesn't look like I'm looking off to the side. So I know on Zoom you can do that. And I will give you a tip that is huge, is that when you go on to do your slides in PowerPoint and you want presenter mode, which is you have the main slide that they see, and that's what you're seeing on your screen. And then in the top, you have a little box screen of the next one that's coming. So the next one that's on deck, so you know where you're going with your speech. That's why I don't need to have notes when I'm going unless I have my quotes. So you want that presenter view. If sometimes tech is being weird, and like that's what happened on Saturday, we're trying to find the little arrow thing and it wasn't showing on the thing, do Alt F5, Alt F5. And if you do Alt F5, it automatically puts it in that presenter view.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thanks. No, I so appreciate that. Another tip with that was actually I Post-it notes on here. I'll put my Post-it notes around my screen, boom, up at the top. So I'm looking up. And so that way my face is up. And that is one thing we talk about too when I come is angle. And we've talked about angle before. A lot of you know, if you're doing, from your phone, you're going to hold your phone up. We all know that. The same thing with your computer. I'm going to show you right now what happens when I move my computer. Okay. This is it sitting on the table. And if I go like that, do you see how that angle is different because you're looking up? So there are a couple things that you can get for this. There are stands you can buy, and they're metal stands. They're nice. And what it does, it brings it up and it tips it a little bit so that your camera is head on. Okay. Mine is in storage. So guess I have a box that's about 8 inches tall. Use your scriptures. Those are great things, but put it up on something so that way you're not looking down on people, because it kind of gives that the feel isn't right. So you want to be able to look straight on. Okay. And this could even stand to be a little bit taller or a little bit different. So that's just an idea. Lift it higher so we can look into your eyes. I love that, those ideas. Just find something to do that with. Let's see. Okay. A couple things that I want to, so you're going to have your computer. If you're going to be using Zoom, and I say this because a lot of us will be doing presentations through Zoom, whether you're doing a masterclass, whether you get asked to speak on Zoom. I know Connie has had that several times where she's done Relief Society presentations on Zoom. Okay, a couple things, some equipment that you might want to have. We worry about the microphone. If you have a good computer, like my microphone is really good straight through the computer. If for some reason you feel like you need headphones because you have people around you, I would recommend testing out your headphones, because sometimes like the earbuds, they may sound nice, but sometimes you'll hear it back and it will sound like you're talking in a can. And so it doesn't work as well. So make sure that you have that. Sometimes you can have microphone to plug in. I like using my computer system. So try it and see, record it quickly, and then just go back and watch it. Okay, if you're doing from stage, a couple things that you want to need, I can bring it out here, is an HDMI cable. If you're going to be plugging into a TV, if you're going to be plugging in to a projector, you might want to ask. That's something wherever you go to present, say, okay, do you have a projector? Are you using a TV? Do you have a screen? What do you have, so that you know what you need to bring? Another thing that we recently bought that we use is a remote, and you can set it up ahead of time, and you can use that to advance your slides, so you don't have to sit there and push the space bar every time, or the arrow key. Okay, so a remote is nice, but it can be tricky if you sit there and hold it and you accidentally like hold the button down and it goes through the slides real quick. But just so you know, a remote is nice too, because you can just point at your computer and go next. And then that way you can feel like you can roam the stage. Okay, so those are a couple of things there. Connie, do you have, yes.
Yes, this is one of the best ones. It's Lenovo one. I'm not Lenovo. This is a Logitech. Sorry, my computer's a Lenovo. And what it does is you have this little piece, but it's nice because it keeps it all in the same thing. And you keep this in your computer, and then you work the remote so that it's connected to it. So you automatically hook in and connect. But you need to make sure that you charge this ahead of time, or make sure that it's not dead. So that's just a little thought there. And if possible, when you go somewhere, always bring your laptop. That was one of the tech problems they had, is that they were using one of the tech things, a borrower thing there at BYU, and it wasn't working for some reason. So I would always, even though they say, oh, well, then go ahead and use the one that's there. That's beautiful. But I would always bring your own, with your own remote and everything, and your adapter. I have my adapter in the bag as well. I always bring my own adapter. So make sure you've got your setup where you have the right adapter that goes into any HDMI cable, because that's mostly what people have when you go speak somewhere. They don't have the most up-to-date stuff most places. So just anything that would hook into your HDMI, and you can ask at Best Buy or whatever what the adapter is that's best for your computer, or look it up on Google, and just make sure you have it. So I don't want to walk over and get it again, but it's just a little white adapter that I plug into my computer, and it plugs into the HDMI cable, and then we're all set.
And that's what I have too. And mine are all bagged, but it's one of those. And then I have that same remote, but I bought a new one, and it connects through Bluetooth. So that way I didn't have to use one of my ports. So it can either connect, but make sure it's set up and you run through it. I needed to make sure when I got to the retreat this last time, for some reason it wasn't seeing that. And all I had to do is call my husband, and for some reason it started working because I said Matt. So who knows? So have a magic word or magic person and it will suddenly work. So, but anyway, but practice, 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 know how to do it, how to set it up. And usually those things, like my remote, it had instructions of what to do, but make sure you feel like you're ready to go and know what you're going to do. If it doesn't work, have a backup plan. Just like Connie said, always. And I always like having my computer anyway, because I know my computer. I might not know somebody else's stuff, because that's the thing. Okay. Do we have time that I can show you quickly how to set up a meeting on Zoom? So when you are going to do a master class, or you're going to invite somebody to come do a speaking thing, I want to show you how to set it up on Zoom quickly. So let me go ahead and share my screen on this. So there are a couple options you can do. Now, if you have a free version, chances are you're just going to do an open Zoom meeting. If you start paying for Zoom, you can add on a webinar option. If you find you're going to do a lot of online speaking, scaling, whatever, a webinar is great. And here's the difference between a webinar and just a regular Zoom meeting. A regular Zoom meeting looks like this. We can have everybody in gallery view. You can see everybody. A webinar, and you can all see each other. The difference in a webinar is you can see your participants, but they can't see each other. They can chat with each other. You can enable that. The reason you might want to do that is if you're going to have something where it might be that you don't want people being distracted by each other, that you really want to focus on your presentation, and that's really what you want. But if you want something where, like, okay, people are going to interact, you can do a meeting. However, in a webinar, if you want to pull somebody on to make a comment, you can always enable it that way. So just so you know, if you're like, oh, but I'm going to want to pull people in, it just depends on how big. A webinar, typically you're looking at that you're going to have like 100 people, 50 to 100 people. You're going to have a big group. So where you may not be like that right now, don't stress about it. Just know in the future, that's an option. You can do a webinar option. Okay. So let me go ahead and share. So in order, you can either schedule through the app or through your online. And I'm going to just go online because I can't do it through the app while we are on a Zoom. So it doesn't work. So if I go in and I log in and you see your profile, you're going to, at the top, it just says, I think it says schedule a meeting, but again, there it is. Okay. So schedule a meeting, you're going to put in what the name of your meeting is. And we're just going to say, I'm going to say speaking gig, but you're going to put whatever that is, mapping, whatever you're going to do. You're going to put in the date and the time and how long you want that to be. I always recommend doing a little bit longer. It doesn't really matter, except that if you have it synced with a calendar of sorts, you want to make sure you've blocked out your time so that you're not scheduling back to back. But always give yourself a buffer, maybe about a half an hour, just in case. Okay. And then this is where you can decide if you want to require registration. You can do that, and you send out the registration link, and then you can get their email addresses and download them later and upload them somewhere else if you don't want to do a whole landing page. Okay, that's a way you can do that. Okay, that they're required. Now, you can do a personal meeting ID or generate automatically. So this would be if you want to have a separate link than what you normally do. So like for us, if we're going to do a specific class, we might want to generate it automatically so that for some reason, somebody doesn't accidentally click that link and jump in to Connie's meeting or coaching session. Okay, so you would want a different one. Okay, we don't have a template. Now you get down to security. This has passcode and waiting room checked. You don't need to do that. You can do one or the other if you want. And here's what I'm going to say on this. On a waiting room, if you're going to be doing a full presentation where you're in control of this presentation and you don't mind when people hop in, I would just click this off so that people can just hop in. You're not worried about managing them and somebody stuck in the waiting room because you have the passcode. And if you don't post this link just everywhere, it's fine, right? If they have to register for it, then they'll get that. Like if I hit it's required, then they're going to get that to their email, or I send it to my people specifically, if that makes sense. Okay. The only reason a passcode you would want a waiting room is if you're blasting that, here's the link, just join, just come on and join. Then you're going to want your waiting room so you can filter that out if you want to do that. You scroll down, you want to make sure that your video is on. If you want to be able to see your participants, make sure that's on. If you don't want to be distracted, or other people, you can say that it's off and they have to turn on their video differently. Typically, a lot of people like to speak, like to see the reaction, right? That gives you energy. So you're going to want to see faces, okay? And then you have this audio is if somebody does their Zoom through phone, okay? Then you just allow it both. Now, always click options and hit show. Always mute your participants when they come on, because otherwise if they come on late and you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. You can allow participants to join anytime, meaning if somebody comes in 15 minutes late, they can still join. Okay, we have breakout rooms. If you don't have breakout rooms, that's not going to matter. Automatically record the meeting. If you don't want to have to worry about remembering to hit record, then click that. But if you don't want to just record everybody just showing up like randomly and just connecting, then don't click that. Because sometimes I always recommend that when you start a Zoom meeting, you get on about 15 minutes before to make sure you have everything up, ready to go. You've connected. If you have somebody that's going to be assisting you, that you're able to connect and be able to see each other and know that. If you click automatically record meeting, as soon as you start that meeting, even with your assistant, it's going to start recording that. Okay. So you just decide, and then you decide where you're going to record it. If you have, like for us, we have storage that we pay for. We have paid Zoom, so we do it in the cloud, so it's not taking on my computer. But if you're going to be editing it yourself, you want to be able to have access to it, you can just download it on your local computer. but I always do it in the cloud right now. So that way somebody else, because I have somebody else editing my videos, right? They're going to be able to access that. Okay. So if I have somebody else, none of you have this right now, but like if I wanted Connie to be an alternative host or she wanted me to be, she would put my name in, but I'm a user in her account. So I could do that. And then I just hit save. Okay. So that's how I would get with that. So with that being said, that's how you're set up your meeting. And then it will have the invite link and you can copy and share that with people. You can say, if they registered, that's what you put in your little welcome email that says, hey, so glad you registered. Here's the link. Yeah, you can use your Facebook page to invite people to join your Zoom meeting or presentation. And if it's required registration, then when you go onto that meeting, it will have the link for that. And you just put that link on in the comments or on your Facebook page, and they'll click that, and that's how they'll register for your meeting. Okay. So now when you're on Zoom, a couple things that just quickly go through just to run through this. So you'll have different views. Okay, in your top right-hand corner, you can see it right now. You probably already know this. You have speaker view, you have gallery view. If there's two of you, it's side by side. Okay, so decide how you want that view to be for you. Okay, so that way you can see people, or if you just want it to be you. If you have somebody presenting and it's not you, and you want them to be recorded and not you, so you can see like the little green, the top. So I'm going to click my little thing, and you can pin somebody's video. And you see, it just changed your view for you, didn't it? It just made me go big and everybody else at the top of the screen. Okay, and then that way, if somebody makes a noise, somebody unmutes, then you're still the speaker. So you want to pin that, and you can unpin it, because I've got at the top of the left-hand side, it says remove pin, and I can remove it. Okay, so that's how that works. And then when you're in security, when you're on the bottom, when you are the host, it will have a little security at the button, and you can lock the meeting if you don't want people to come in after you've started. If you're like, nope, after about 5-10 minutes, I don't want people coming in and out, you can lock it. You can hit record at the bottom of your screen. There's a little record button. You can decide where to record it, on the cloud or on your desktop. And then of course, there's share screen, where you're going to share a screen. If you are sharing a screen from a browser, I highly recommend closing all of your other tabs, because otherwise everybody's going to read, oh, what does she have open? Oh, she's got Facebook open. The other reason to do that is, some of the things they won't be able to see unless they're hosts either. So when you are the host, you'll see security, you'll see record, you'll see share screen, all those things. And under security is where you can allow people to share a screen. So let's say we're on a meeting and I want somebody to be able to share screen. I just hit security and I just allow participants to share screen. I allow them to unmute themselves. That's all in that. Okay, on the share screen, as I was saying, just close all your tabs in your browser. Make sure you have all that open. And I think, okay, yeah, we covered the other stuff I was going to talk about with that. Any questions? And I know this is like a lot, so you can come back and watch this later. Yes, and Wendy, that's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you for bringing that up. If you are running a meeting or a webinar, it is so important to have somebody to be on there with you, whether they're logged in as you. So there were times that in the past, I would be on with Connie, but nobody knew I was there, but I could see what was going on in the background. If there were comments that we needed to do, if you want people to interact with you, if you want, say, hey, put it in the chat. If you want that to happen, I would encourage you in your presentation to allow time for you to pause and look at the chat. Or if you're like, hey, we've done this before, you go to your assistant and you say, will you monitor the chat and let me know if there's something that I should respond to? And I would text it to her, because she would just have it sitting right in front of her, see it, and it would buzz. And then I could say, oh yeah, this is where we're at. Because sometimes you're in the middle screen, you're trying to focus on your audience. You're not focused on all the other things. But if you know that that's how they're going to connect with you, then do that. Just make sure your alerts are off. Make sure it's on mute, it's on silent, especially things like Facebook, because if they ding, it will show up in your presentation. Your email, if your email makes a sound. But yeah, have somebody there to help you. Yes, please.
Tell them how to make sure they've turned off their alerts, because that happens a lot with podcast interviewers.
Oh, I make sure that I've completely like not just closed my browser, but logged out of my browser. Log out of your email. Like go into that and don't just minimize it. Sometimes we think we hit the X and it's done. No, actually go into your browser and hit close that. Now, if you have a pop-up, if you have the app on your phone, so like for instance, I have messages on my computer. So if somebody texts me, a message will pop up and it might ding. And then it will distract me because my brain goes there. I need to go and log out of it. Go log out of anything that's going to be a pop-up. If you have a calendar, if you have that, make sure you have that disabled. So basically you have to click on your app and then go turn off those notifications. So that's how I've done it on my phone. It might be airplane mode, but if I need to connect with my presenter or somebody, then I don't want that on airplane mode because then I can't. But did that answer that question? Okay. Yes, artist, good question. There is a limit. If you have free Zoom, it is 40 minutes if you just have more than one person on. Okay. So if you're going to be doing something that's going to last an hour, I would recommend upgrading that. If you're going to say, hey, we're going to go over an hour, it's like $15 a month. And Zoom is so easy to cancel. I'm not kidding. Like you can do it for a month and have that. And then it's unlimited amount of time for up to like 100 people or something. So, and I would recommend if you're going to go over that, definitely, otherwise, right, it's going to cut you off and it's going to feel very unprofessional. So that's why I would recommend upgrading that. And any of those are business expenses if you're using as that. So just so you know, it goes towards your taxes. I'm a big one on that. Like that's a business expense. So, and everybody knows Zoom. You could use Google Meets. You could use all these kinds of other things, but you'll notice Zoom really stepped up in the last couple years because of the needs of the people, right? And so they really stepped up. They stepped up their security. They stepped up their everything. And everybody just knows how to use it. So yeah.
Can I say on that though, if you're just two people in the room, because I use it all the time for like counseling, it does never cut you off. If you're doing the free Zoom, it never cuts you off. But if you have somebody come in your waiting room, if you've enabled your waiting room and somebody comes in, then it will cut you off at the 40-minute mark. Because then it looks at having 3 people in there instead of 2.
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. And that's true. And so you can go down to your security and you can enable your waiting room or you can disable it. But if it's disabled, they can just jump in. And so that's why it's important if you're going to do a specific meeting to not have the same link for everybody. So that would be, I think we covered it. Are there any other questions that you have about that? Okay. Did I cover everything you wanted, Connie? Okay, fantastic. If you have any other questions, you're like, I want to run through this, again, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to do a coaching session with you just to be those second set of eyes and be like, okay, let's figure out the flow. And so that way you feel comfortable doing that. So thanks, ladies. Thanks for having me on.